The first part on the bandsaw that we're going to go over today is the blade tension adjustment. This is the knob found at the top of the bandsaw. You want to make sure that you allow the operator or the instructor of your technology education course to always make sure that the blade is adjusted correctly. You never want to loosen or tighten this without their permission. The second part we're going to go over is the work light. As you can see, my work light is rarely used. You want to make sure that you only use the work light, again, with the instructor's permission. The next part that we're going to go over is the blade guard adjustment. By loosening this tightening knob in the back, I'm able to raise and lower the blade guard depending on the size of my stock. I want to make sure that my blade guard is set roughly 1/8 of an inch above my stock before I tighten the blade guard. I always want to make sure that this knob is tightened firmly but not over tightened whenever I'm operating the bandsaw. The next part I want to describe is the actual blade guard itself. The blade guard itself prevents access from touching the blade. Therefore, if the blade is too high and I'm exposing too much blade for my particular piece of stock, this can actually lead to accidents or cause serious problems when you're cutting your stock because the blade becomes flimsy. Lowering the blade guard 1/8 of an inch above your stock and tightening the blade guard adjustment allows the blade to spin freely and securely whenever you are actually cutting your piece. The next part I want to show you is the blade. On a bandsaw, it is one continuous blade, so that way when the blade turns, it is always turning on a down motion, so it's always on a cutting motion. I want to make sure that I only have enough blade exposed to safely cut my stock. I do not want to have too much blade exposed, otherwise it can cause an accident or lead to problems with our actual cut. The next part I'll show you is the table insert. The table insert on the bandsaw works much like the table insert does on the scroll saw. It comes out of the table to allow access to the lower mechanisms that hold the blade in place. I want to make sure that my table insert is always inserted into the table prior to operating the machine. The next part is the table itself. I want to make sure that my stock rests firmly on the table, and if I need to, I have fences and other levers or helpful mechanisms in place prior to operating the machine. The next part I'll show you is the on-off switch. The on-off switch on a Delta machine is found right to the left of the actual blade itself. If I turn the machine on, I want to allow my blade to come up to full operating speed before I use the machine, and whenever I turn it off and I'm finished with my cut, I want to make sure that the blade comes to a full and complete stop before I move away from the machine.